What's happening, Trollomaniacs? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're trolling and rolling in a response video to Jluv81. She posed the question, what are 5 games you wish you had as a kid? 5? I can think of 55 games I wish I had as a kid. I only had 5 games as a kid. But with that being said, growing up in the 80s and 90s, rental stores were like your best friend, and birthdays and Christmases were the holy grail holidays, because you knew that was your one chance at getting the game you wanted, the one you circled in Nintendo Power, the one that had been haunting your commercials in between Nickelodeon TV shows all year. So with that, I'm going to talk about 5 games that I wish I had as a kid and that I finally got a chance to pick up now. Stick around, let's take a look. Alright, so getting this started, I'm going to cheat right away because that's what you do when you're trolling. You cheat, you find ways to win, I don't care what it takes. And this first one isn't even a game, it's an arcade cabinet. Don't get me wrong, there's a ton of fantastic games, but when you were a kid watching Tom Hanks and Big, watching all those movies where kids had arcades in their rooms and then going to the arcade and getting a chance to experience that, there was nothing that could have made you more excited than getting an arcade. With that being said, there was no way in hell I was getting an arcade as a kid. But now as an adult, thanks to Arcade 1UP, thanks to At Games, I have the At Games Legends, thanks to Konami and all these other companies, they have made affordable arcade games that you can play in the comfort of your own home. For me, you can see a quick little overview here. I'm going to do a tour of kind of my barcade later, but I have a bunch of these arcades now. And again, they're not for arcade purists. They're not the most expensive, high quality arcades, but they get the job done. And I would have killed to have a Street Fighter arcade, a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade in my house. And now I can have those things thanks to the multiple companies that are putting out these smaller home arcade games. So with that, number 1, I would have loved to have an arcade game. Alright, next, I'm going to go in order of when these games were released. For the Nintendo Entertainment System, I only had a handful of games, but there was one that I always wanted to play, and it was an incredible game, and it holds up amazingly well, and I finally beat it, and that is Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! I just got Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! For the first time this year, beat it for the first time this year. I have been missing this game forever. Now, of course, I've played it. I had friends that had it, but we were terrible. When I was 6 or 7, we couldn't even get past King Hippo. Now, not that he is an easy opponent, but when you figure out the patterns, the game is not that bad. But my peanut brain just couldn't do it back then, and since I didn't own the game, I didn't have enough time to actually get good at it. So for me, owning it now, this is fantastic. But as a kid, I loved this game. I wanted it so bad. I don't know why I never got it. Probably because my parents didn't love me. Next up is a Super Nintendo game. Now, I don't even own the physical game because it's pretty rare and quite expensive, but I do have it on the Switch, and it's Mega Man X2. Now, Mega Man X1 is one of my all-time favorite games. It is, I believe, still better than Mega Man X2. But after beating X1, I was salivating at the idea of playing another X game. Well, Mega Man X2 came out. I think it was actually a little bit later in the SNES life cycle, even though there was a 3. I forget what happened, but for some reason it wasn't as easily available as the original Mega Man X, and even now it's become a huge collector's game for many gamers out there. So I still don't own the physical copy, but I can play it through my Switch with the Mega Man X collection. I can play my PS2 to the X collection. There's many ways to play the game other than the original hardware. I would still love the original hardware version, but I'm not going to fork over that kind of money for a game that I've already beaten many times. But this game is fantastic. If you haven't played the X games, I am the biggest advocate. At least Mega Man X1 through like 5. They're still pretty solid. They get a little wonky, but Mega Man X2, definitely one that I always wanted as a kid, and apparently I still kind of want it now, but not gonna happen. Next up is a Nintendo 64 game. Are you seeing the trend? I was a Nintendo kid. I'm not saying the Genesis was bad, but the Genesis and Sega was the bottom shelf liquor to the top shelf vodka that the SNES and the rest of Nintendo's products were bringing to the table. That's right, I said it. And with that, I never had a chance to own Legend of Zelda, Ocarina, or Ocarina, however you want to pronounce it, of Time. Now, I just picked this up this year. I still have not had a chance to play it. I beat Majora's Mask, so I'm a huge fan of the Nintendo 64 Zelda, It's just, I haven't had a chance to play this game. As a kid, I believe I had the money, so I got Majora's Mask because it was the newer Zelda, and I thought, well, you know, newer has to be better. Plus, I had a friend that had this game and he loved it, so I thought, well, let me try something different. With that, people consider this one maybe the better of the two and maybe the best Zelda game ever. So I'm excited to play it. It's a bucket list game that I talked about earlier on a video a couple weeks ago, but I cannot wait to get into this game on the Nintendo 64. And as a kid, I really wanted it, but I just didn't have enough pennies in the old pocket. And the fifth and final game is a game that came out when I was actually 18, but really we're all kids until we're about 23 or 24, and some of us still haven't grown up. And that game is Baldurs Gate Dark Alliance 2. Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance 1 is one of my favorite PlayStation 2 games. The co-op, hack and slash, Diablo-style gameplay on a console. I loved it. I loved Diablo 1. I loved Diablo 2. So when Baldur's Gate came out, I don't even know how I found it, but I played the first one. I absolutely loved it. The second one came out in 2004. I was getting ready for high school graduation. I mean, I was pretty much done looking at new games at that point in my life. I was 18, I had other things going on, but I remember looking at this and going, gosh, I really wish I could buy it, but I'm going off to college. I'm probably going to drop out. I'm probably not going to have any money. I can't be buying Baldur's Gate 2 at this point. So I didn't. But now I own it, and I love the hack and slash elements of this game. It's a great co-op game. It's also on the Xbox, but I don't own the Xbox version because it is a little bit of a collector's item, so it is a little bit rare and a little bit more expensive than your typical $5 to $10 PS2 game. So with that, those are my 5 games I wish I had as a kid that I now can hold. I can put them onto my head as I sleep at night and enjoy them and beat them at my own leisure. And that's it, folks. Keep trolling, keep rolling. See you next week.